Hey there, what's up guys? It's Caleb. Welcome back to my channel. Today I want to make an argument for why I think men should put more effort into the way they dress and represent themselves. And if you already do this, then perhaps this video can help validate those feelings that you already have. My central argument is that men have a responsibility to represent themselves well, and in choosing to represent themselves better, they will be able to express themselves more effectively. So to dig a little deeper into the foundations of this argument, my argument is going to be predicated on the idea that the world is objective and that we can glean things from the world based on the use of our reason, which may seem a little excessive for the sake of talking about style and stuff like that, but I think it will be useful as we continue to move into the video. And like I said, this is all just my personal opinion, so of course keep that in your mind. So personally, a lot of my influence for this idea came or was inspired by readings and research I had done around things like objective morality and beauty, and this mixture of these classical Greek ideas mixed with a lot of more traditional Catholic or traditional Christian ideas, basically around the idea of like transcendental beauty and the objective relationship between objective truth, objective beauty, and objective goodness. These are ideas that are put forth by thinkers like Plato and Thomas Aquinas, and they really tie in well with each other, I think. And it's really informed my thought process, and I think hopefully this can be a helpful argument for a lot of guys. In the argument that objectivity exists, it is necessary to say that there is such thing as objective beauty, objective truth, and objective goodness. This isn't something that everyone agrees on, but for the sake of this argument, it's going to be something that we assume. I don't really think there's a ton of advantage to me taking time to try and prove those ideas. I think our time is more efficiently used just by assuming that these ideas are true, and then, if we wanted to have that debate, that would be useful within a different format, I think. So the three concepts that I've put forward are called by Thomas Aquinas the transcendentals. So these are things that are present in all objects to varying degrees no matter what. So his idea is that all objects contain some measure of truth, beauty, and goodness within them, that with our reason we can objectively see and understand the qualities within different objects. So another assumption that we are going to have to make for the sake of this argument is the idea that pursuit of virtue is something good. Basically it's going to be, we're going to assume that pursuing virtue is the path that we should be taking forward, and then we're also going to be assuming that beauty, goodness, and truth are all three transcendental objective virtues for the sake of this argument as well. Now that we've clarified all of our preliminary statements that are necessary to move forward with the argument, I am putting forth the argument personally that I think that if all of these are objective virtues and if we are supposed to pursue virtue, then I think that it is important for us, I'm speaking specifically as a man and us as men, to pursue being virtuous and pursue a virtuous lifestyle. And so if we are going to concede that these ideas are virtuous, then that means that we need to be living them out throughout our life. And I'm making the argument here specifically that all of these can be done specifically with a pursuit towards beauty within your own personal style, and that it will lead to personal benefits for you. So Thomas Aquinas defines beauty as a something that when seen pleases. So he's basically saying that, anytime you see something and it brings pleasure to you, that is something that is beautiful. And so taking that definition and the assumptions that we've made as people who are choosing to move forward and try to pursue virtue, I would place forth the argument that we should seek to dress in a pleasing way, which would then mean that we are choosing to dress in a virtuous way. Now, this isn't a super easy conversion necessarily to push into style, specifically because the way we dress is often subject to rules of practicality. For example, it would not be appropriate to go and wear a suit to the gym if you're going to go work out, and vice versa. It would also not be appropriate to bring your gym clothes to a formal occasion such as a funeral or a wedding. And so whatever our specific style is that we are choosing to pursue, unfortunately it is not subject purely to aesthetic rules and to aesthetic guidelines. I believe that as a man choosing to go forth and seek virtue, that it is important that you hold yourself to a high standard, and I think that this is present in how we dress as well. if we're choosing to pursue the virtues of truth and beauty, which are all interconnected, then I think it makes sense that we choose to try to bring forth those virtues in the way we live our lives completely, which includes the way that we choose to dress. I think a bit of difficulty arises when we try to come up with how specifically we can choose to dress in a way that is virtuous. And so as we continue to get a little bit more in depth, I don't think the importance is necessarily on the specific style you choose to wear, but instead on the general principles of your style, as well as the general thought process going into how you choose and decide to dress. For example, I think a really important part of this would be wearing clothes that fit you and make you actually look nice. So within any specific aesthetic or style that you choose to go and pursue, there's obviously a range of ways that your clothes can fit you. You know, you can choose to go and wear a slim or a tailored pair of pants, or goes and choose to wear a drapey or a wide pair of pants. But each pair of these pants, though they're cut very, very differently, can still fit or not fit you. For example, if the waist is too large and they're going to hang down below your waist, then they obviously do not fit you. Or if they are too tight and they're squeezing you, then they obviously don't fit you. So when we're establishing whether or not your clothes fit, I don't think it's necessarily about the cut, but it's about fitting a garment to your specific measurements and proportions. And so because of this, it's important to know specifically what your measurements are and what sizes you need and what measurements you need to hit to be able to wear clothes that fit you specifically. I think when we look at suiting, we can see examples of this really clearly, where no matter what type of suit you like to wear, you objectively still are looking at wearing something that is fitting your shoulder measurements, that is fitting your chest measurements. You're going to look at a sleeve that hits in the correct place, whether or not you choose to wear like a Neapolitan cut or a traditional British cut or an American sack suit cut, any of these specific cuts or these styles of suiting, you're always trying to hit these specific objective metrics of how the clothes are supposed to fit on you, which is something that, for example, within suiting, if you ever look at a part of that community, is something that is very, very important to them. If you ever post on like a suiting subreddit or something like that, and you have some type of collar gapping going on, as an example, you're likely to kind of get ripped into for that. And that's kind of an example of a difference between like a cut or a style, which we might not objectively be able to define, versus how we can objectively define clothes that do or do not fit you. Another example of this is wearing clothes with a cohesive color palette. For the sake of this argument, I don't think it's worth bringing up specifically people who choose to dress in a disorganized or in a way that where colors clash. That's not really the argument I'm making necessarily. I guess they could be the exception that proves the rule or something like that, but I think it's important to dress in a way that all of the colors within your outfit go well together and that they meld well together. This isn't necessarily something that is super easy to do when you first start dressing nicely. It will take time to be able to develop an extensive color palette. That's why a lot of guys who give out like kind of noob fashion advice will recommend that you're wearing blues, grays, whites, and blacks, and that's pretty much all they'll recommend in the beginning, and then you could slowly mix in things like other earth tones and things like that as you continue to expand your understanding of style. While I definitely think that's true, I would not advocate, I'm not trying to advocate specifically for choosing to dress like an NPC or something like that, just because it objectively makes you look nice. I'm definitely for a more subcultural or a niche style of dressing personally, as far as how I choose to dress, and that's how I would advocate most people choose to dress, because I think it gives you kind of the most bang for your buck. But as far as when it comes to fundamental understandings of how colors go together or how your clothes should fit, I think it's important to understand those specific metrics no matter what style you choose to go and try out. So another argument for why you should choose to dress well comes from So my second reason for why you should choose to dress well is probably the most obvious reason, and that you'll hear a lot, is that just objectively it makes you feel better. I think if you look at a lot of people, even the people who are most apathetic to the way they dress and who dress the worst, I think you would understand that, you know, if they had to walk around in something ridiculous like a clown costume or something like that, they would clearly understand, you know, that it wouldn't make them feel good. Minor exceptions, if you're dressed in a way that is not appropriate for a specific situation, most people are going to feel uncomfortable and it's going to make them feel weird. And so in the opposite way, being well dressed in any specific situation will often make you feel better about yourself. And this isn't necessarily for the people who just are 100% apathetic about their style, that they're obviously, I guess, too far gone to reach. And I'm mainly talking about this for the people who are interested in feeling better about their style but maybe feel lost, which is what I think most people truly are. I think this reason requires the least amount of explanation, and this can really be seen anytime you go and watch like a makeover TV show, or you see someone who finally gets themselves in a piece of clothing that fits nice and makes them look nice, especially with guys. When you see them and they're able to go and get in a really nice fitting suit, and you can see how quickly they're able to boost their confidence, even if supposedly they're people who don't really care about the way they dress or the way they look. I think that for everyone, it's very obvious that, you know, it's very obvious that if you look better, you will usually, as the saying goes, feel better. So my third line of reasoning ties in a little bit more with the first line of reasoning, and it requires a little bit more of, I guess, specific buy-in to a specific ideology, I suppose. I would put forth the idea that as a man who's choosing to try to live virtuously, you should try to exemplify masculine virtues as well as you can, and that's something that personally I strive with in my life. As I try to, you know, become a better person, I try to become more manly and I guess and balance, you know, and balance and work towards building up and becoming more virtuous. And I think that exemplifying those masculine virtues through the way you dress, at least for me, is something that's very important. For the sake of this argument, I would say that this is done specifically through dressing in styles that exemplify or pursue some type of masculine ideal. For me personally, I find this, I see this a lot in my appreciation for like classic men's suiting, which I'm obviously not a huge part of, but as far as my aesthetic appreciation for it, and then personally in the styles that I choose to engage in from a lot of more traditional American heritage styles, my participation in that, I think, is a part of that pursuit of some type of masculine ideal as well. I think as someone who is working like we all are to become a better person and a better man and is trying to pursue this type of traditional masculine virtue, that it can be helpful to take places in your life where you can easily add that to. And I think for a lot of guys, something like their own personal style is a place where with relatively low effort they can kind of get a buy-in to push themselves one step further kind of down that path and to really make themselves feel better, and in a way that can kind of make you feel more masculine and comfortable within that. Personally, if we're talking about the best ways to actually pursue this, my personal recommendations would be, after you have an understanding of the basic tenets of getting dressed, like how your clothes should fit, and specifically things like how a color palette works, would be to go and look at, like I've advocated for prior, look at more of an ideal that you're interested in, look at a person you want to be like, or a style that really, really speaks to you, and to hone in on that specifically and push forward with that. Personally, when I'm doing that, I look forth at a lot of kind of classic movies and classic movie style, which is something that I personally really appreciate. I know a lot of the guys who are in the Amikaji or American Heritage style that I'm interested in, that's something that they really, really like. I used to be really into skateboarding, and so that was something that I would go and pursue in that way. You know, there's a lot of different styles for different people. Obviously, if you're interested or a part of any specific subcultures, especially musical subcultures, that can give you a really easy in to a specific style that you can go and pursue. I think the advantage to choosing to dress in a very intentional and focused way is that it pinholes, or it pushes you so far away from the kind of mainstream trend-driven style that it allows you to actually have a more classic, quote-unquote, or timeless style. And I think this is because when you choose to put rules around yourself and to limit yourself in what you wear, for example, if I'm choosing to go forth and wear American traditional clothing, personally, I'm not going to go and wear like the skating brand, the oversized skate brand sweatshirts that I used to wear, or go wear skate shoes, or I'm not going to go and wear things like technical hiking jackets or things like that, because I've set these specific personal style rules for myself in a pursuit of a traditional personal style. And so because of that, it has allowed me to sit well within my style, and it removes me from any type of trend cycles. So by choosing to set these limits around yourself, what it really does is it kind of hardens your base, and it allows you to build a foundation, which makes it so that you won't be swayed by like the moving waves or the winds of you know, the traditional trends. Because I don't necessarily think there is as much value in choosing to start caring about the way you dress, but moving to something like traditional mall brands or things that are very, very focused on trends and very, very focused on mass markets and stuff like that. Just because I think that you will find yourself, instead of being able to really focus on whatever your specific interests and identity are, you'll kind of just be moving with whatever is being marketed to you, which is not necessarily the point. And I think that although if you do choose to go and care about the way you dress a little bit more, and you choose to go and buy from places like that, a lot more fast fashion or kind of traditional mall brand style clothing, I do think that will still offer you some of the benefits that I talked about. I do think that you will only be able to see the full breadth of the advantages and the benefits you're going to get from choosing to dress well when you do choose to kind of put some rules around how you are going to dress and what your specific style pursuits and inspirations are. I'm editing really quick, and I just want to add and preface to give some extra resources if you're interested in any personal style stuff. If you want a really good argument for trying to dress with a personal style, I would check out Reggie Casual's videos on that from the Casual YouTube channel. And if you want an argument against a personal style, or arguing from a different perspective than I would have or that Reggie Casual would have, looking at Bliss Foster's videos on personal style are a really good resource as well. Overall, this video is for people who are interested in dressing well or who already try to dress well, and kind of giving you my understanding or my manifesto, I guess, on why I choose to dress well and why I think it's very important to me. This is beyond just the fact that generally I have a predisposition towards really, really enjoying clothing. It's always been something I've really liked. So outside of that, obviously, to kind of put you and tell you kind of my philosophical understanding of why I choose to do so, and the importance, for example, of, like I had said previously, in pursuing a more masculine ideal as you try to better yourself. And so I hope that this is useful for some people. I hope some of you guys find this interesting. What really made me start thinking about this was that meme, the Socrates meme, where it says, "It is a shame for a man to grow old and not realize the strength and beauty of what his body's capable of," that Socrates quote. I had read that and I almost thought to myself, like, it's a shame for a man to grow old and not realize the drip of which he is capable, you know? And so that really made me think about kind of the why behind, I think, why it's important for men to dress well and kind of the benefits and advantages. Let me know in the comments what you guys think, what your thought process is, why you do or don't think it's important to dress well, and your personal thought process behind how you present yourself to the world and how you express your personality and your interests through your style. I'll check you guys out next week. Have a great rest of your week. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye.